About a year and a half ago, I made a video about Afterlife in Latin. Now I will make a video with English comments about it. So why did I make a video about Afterlife? First of all, it was a year of pandemic. A year when more people died than usual, so a video about death seemed appropriate. Bonus points for it being in a dead language. Second, I consider the issue of the afterlife to be very important in atheist philosophy. Namely, I think there are three basic theodicies, the explanations for why an omnipotent God would allow all the evil that is happening in the world. The first and the most popular one is that evil is a necessary consequence of free will, and the God therefore has to allow it. God had to allow the bad coronavirus to jump from bats to humans and kill 15 million people, supposedly because preventing that would break the free will of people who were eating those bats without even knowing they were infected. The second theodicy is the Gottfried Leibniz's idea that this is the best of all possible worlds. This pandemic that killed 15 million people and destroyed everybody's lives supposedly had to happen to prevent some greater evil, whatever that might be. The third and the most interesting one, theodicy, is that although God is able and willing to stop the evil in the world, He's not doing that because this world is not His jurisdiction. It would be silly for God to worry about suffering in this world when He can give us a life in heaven after we die, which is a world of infinite pleasures. All the suffering in this world is nothing compared to the pleasures of heaven. Of these three theodicies, I think only the third one is not ridiculous on the face of it. So to prove that God doesn't exist, using the problem of evil, it is important to prove the afterlife does not exist. So I have tried to do that. Let's start.
Salvete, ego sum Theos amartia ex Croatia, ab hinc unum annum feci electronicum visum de atheismo, cur censeam Deum non realem esse. Nunc faciam electronicum visum de vita post mortem. Ego censeo vitam post mortem non realem esse. Etiam. Multi homines, huius temporis, dicunt, fusica quantorum arguere pro vita post mortem, sed ego censeo physica quantorum arguere contra vitam post mortem. Si non contra omnes formas vitae post mortem, tunc contra formam vitae post mortem, in quam plurimi homines credunt. Plurimi homines imaginantur animas, et ut eae animae, quodam modo possint videre, sed eae animae non possint videri ab aliquibus machinis, sed physica quantorum docet nobis, quod passivi observatores non dantur. Particulae electricitatis agunt ut undae cum non spectantur, sed eae agunt ut particulae cum spectantur. Si animae existunt, quae possunt videre, eae animae possint videri ab aliquibus machinis. Ergo, forma vitae post mortem, in quam plurimi homines credunt, ea contradicit firmissimae scientiae, quae est physica quantorum.
I heard this argument from a philosopher called Keith Robinson, and it seemed to me like a good argument. A response to it I got on internet forums is that it is fallacious to try to apply physics to metaphysics, and that souls are not physical but metaphysical things. To that, I would respond by saying that metaphysics is an interdisciplinary field where philosophy and physics meet. Metaphysical statements that contradict physics are wrong, and what philosophers in the centuries of history talked about metaphysics has no credibility, since they were ignorant of both modern philosophy and modern physics. When talking about metaphysics, what they said literally has less credibility than what Isaac Newton said when he was talking about physics. And this should be the most basic common sense.
Ego censeo solum modum, qui eam problemam evitat, monades Gottfriedis Leibnizis sunt. Gottfried Leibniz enim censebat, rem extensam et rem cogitantem non interagere, sed solum modo apparere interagere. Sane novacula occami tunc arguit contra existentiam rei cogitantis.
Now, a response I got to that on an internet forum is that Occam's razor, if anything, argues against the existence of the material world rather than against the existence of the spiritual world, because the material world is supposedly a lot more paradoxical than the spiritual world. I would respond to that with saying, let's say that is truth. So how does it follow from idealism that we are immortal? It doesn't, not at all. Even if we assume the material world does not exist, all the evidence we have that the consciousness is dependent of the brain still holds. If the material world does not exist, then brains are, just like consciousness and everything else, immaterial. It does not follow at all that our consciousness is immortal.
Et ego censeo omnia forma vitae post mortem contradicunt scientiae de cerebro. Rogeris, quid aliquod ens debet habere, ut illud ens tu ipse sit, illud ens debet habere tuas memorias et tuas ideas, an non, sed scimus eas res partes cerebri esse. Ergo, commodo potest tua anima, pars tui, quae super sit, cum tu morieris, esse idem quod tu es. Si pars cerebri nocita est, homo non potest homines quos scit cognoscere. Non necessarium dictu, ea pars cerebri, quae homines cognoscit, finit operari tempore quo homo moritur. Quid bonum animae in paradiso esse sit, si ea anima non potest suos mortuos amicos cognoscere.
People who believe in souls generally respond to this argument by saying that the brain is like a radio, and that you could use the same argument to argue that the music originates in the radio. If radio is damaged, the music stops, but that doesn't mean that the music is generated by the radio. The truth is, you can explain some observations about the brain that way, but you cannot explain all of that. You can explain that way why a person whose real part of the brain has been damaged cannot see. But good luck explaining why a person loses their memories if some part of the brain is damaged, if the brain is just a radio of the soul.
Et si homines habent animam, qui tempus potest sentire, quomodo id est ut, cum homo evigilat ex coma, somnium in quo cerebrum agit nihil, is nescit, quantum tempum ibat. Sane, aliqui homines, qui sine conscientia erant, dicunt se videre aliquid, lucem in corrupta vencuniculo. Sed plurimi homines, qui sine conscientia erant, memorantur nullas res ex eo tempore. Quomodo id possibile est, si homines habeant animas? Si homines habeant animas, homines qui sine conscientia sunt, sentiant longas, quia tempus sibat, silentes tenebras, quia partes cerebri, quae vident et audiunt, non operantur. Anon?
Now, this is an argument I came up with myself. I don't know how good it is. Emilia Sophia told me in the comment of that video that she finds that argument convincing. But if I'm not mistaken, she is also an atheist, just like me. So I would like to popularize this argument, because I think it might be convincing to some people. Popularizing it is the only way to tell how good it is.
Ego etiam censeo vitam post mortem contradicere theoriam evolutionis. Hodie nos scimus nostras mentes ingente esse cum mentes animalium. Ergo ubi linea limes esset. Quae animalia habent animam, et quae animalia non habent animam. Spongiae animalia sunt quae non habent nervos. Ergo habentne spongiae animas? Aliquae animalia, Cindaria, ex ampli gratia, non habent cerebrum, sed habent nervos. An Cindariae ergo habent animas, et aliquae animalia plus intelligentia sunt ab aliquibus hominibus. Aliquae simiae plus intelligentes sunt ab aliquibus hominibus, qui cum debili cerebro nati sunt. An simiae ergo habent animas.
Now, I suppose some people might say that the same argument also refutes my ethical vegetarianism, because evolution says we are all related and it includes plants. So excluding birds and mammals from our diet is supposedly arbitrary, but it is not. It is not arbitrary to exclude from our diets animals that are, according to the scientific consensus, capable of feeling at least some suffering, be it only physical pain. But it would be arbitrary to say they have souls while other animals don't, because the ability to suffer is a part of evolution. Anyway, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed and that I made you think.